Hello. Hi. Nice to see you here. Hey, it's Darren with the Weird Darkness podcast, and you're watching Raze Chaos, and you need to subscribe right now. Otherwise, I'm going to raise some chaos.
And welcome back, everybody. My name is Raze Chaos. You've made it back to my channel, and I am so happy to have you back. Whew, this is so exciting. I get excited. Well, I mean, you've probably seen in some of my videos that I mentioned that I was getting that I got a shipment from the Funko shop, and it involved the comic cover that I showed off the other day, and yeah, that wasn't the only thing I got in that thing, because there was something that I absolutely jumped at once again, because you know how I am. You know how I get when it comes to DC, when it comes to the right people. I got the Funko Shop exclusive Lex Luthor, and this guy is absolutely awesome. Lex Luthor is one of those characters that has been around almost as long as comics have been around. He's not really the first supervillain, but I mean, heck, when he first appeared, he was only known as Luthor, and he was like a henchman. He was just kind of a mad guy that like made crap blow up. But he's had a long and storied career, and part of what makes this character so great is that they've done several iterations of him, and yes, they always just, it's really kind of hard to hit the mark. It seems like it's easier to hit the mark than not with him. Yes, there have been some movie adaptations that didn't quite live up to it. I will say, a lot of times it's just not living up to the Lex Luthor that you're expecting, I guess you'd say. And then others where I don't want to make any, I don't want to name any names, but the movie was Batman versus Superman, and that was abysmal. That was probably one of the worst versions of Lex Luthor I've ever seen. And yeah, but we're going to put this guy away and talk about what I really enjoy about this character. So yeah, I mean, Lex Luthor, at the very base, he's a megalomaniac. He doesn't see himself as a super villain. He doesn't see himself as a bad guy. He just doesn't like the fact that he has, in a lot of ways, he is the smartest. I mean, DC has flat out said that Lex Luthor is the smartest person on the planet. He is smarter than any human on the planet Earth. He's the smartest guy out there. But when you're the smartest person there, and whether you truly are the smartest person or you just believe you're the smartest person, yeah, you can build a lot. But then when somebody shows up and just flies over your head, achieving something that even with your great intelligence you will most likely never achieve, and they're born with it. What the hell? Yes, he is narcissistic. He is so good at when he's playing the mad scientist version of him, which even his origin shows the megalomania there. When he first meets up with Superboy, because one of his first origins, he'd already been around before they'd given him an origin, but they gave him an origin in which a young Lex Luthor moves to Smallville and meets Superboy and says, "Oh, hey, I'm a big fan of yours," and there's talking about all kinds of great stuff, and even mentions that he's got a cure for kryptonite poisoning, because that's how smart he is. And Superboy, he's like, "I'll whip you up a batch, and I'll give it to you." And while he's doing that, Superboy's so excited, he goes out and literally with his hands mines some very rare elements in order to present them to Lex in a way to give him the opportunity to do more experiments, explore more science with some very, very hard to obtain artifacts. Because remember, Lex is still a teen. On the way back, however, something happens and it causes an explosion in his lab. And Superman comes in and is like, oh God, are you okay? And Lex Luthor says, you caused the explosion. You're jealous that I'm smarter than you. And you made my hair fall out. And that's why Lex Luthor was bald. And apparently it never grew back. In Smallville, he loses his hair and it never grows back. Like, for some reason, that is a big thing. Do people even give a crap about bald anymore? I mean, I know there's a big issue with people who are balding. But, I mean, honestly, the big cure for getting over your balding is to just go bald. I mean, who cares? Enough people walk around bald, it's like, who cares? But when your vanity is in check, like Lex Luthor's, that's a big issue. They later did a version of Lex Luthor, which a lot of people are very familiar with, where he was very young, came from an abusive family in the slums, basically took out a very big life insurance policy on his parents, then tampered with their breaks, giving him a huge settlement, give him a huge payout, and then he goes to IMT where he uses his technological know-how to score, comes out, becomes this self-made billionaire philanthropist, even though he, the very cornerstone of it starts with murder and continues on because he will take what he wants. And it doesn't matter if he was the one to discover it, that person might disappear. So, yeah, he will silence whoever he needs to. And that's actually, that's funny because that version was basically based on a combination of Donald Trump and Ted Turner, which don't get mad at me. That wasn't my idea. But that is the way that they basically fashioned the character, was a mixture of the two billionaires that essentially have their hands in everything. My favorite version of Lex Luthor is this one, which is more of the Silver Age / Bronze Age version, who had the origin of being friends when they were very young. And we're going to go ahead and take him out and have a look at it before I get into that. And here he is. I hope I did not, in some cases, make it appear that I don't like the businessman Lex Luthor, which honestly I love him, and that's part of the problem with Lex Luthor, is that you love him regardless as to what role he's playing at this point. I love the fact that he was such a philanthropist and billionaire on the outside that he even makes a move to become the president and succeeds in doing so. But in all honesty, that version of him essentially is pointing in one direction, and then it basically careens back into him just being a very rich megalomaniac, and his background in science and technology is what he's left at once he gets found out. Because once you get to that point, the payoff is going to take him out of it. This version is probably one of my favorites, because this is very similar to the Lex Luthor that was in the Lexor storyline, where Lex Luthor basically had his own planet. And he's hailed as a hero. And he just decided, you know what, screw this. Why should I sit here on Earth where everybody thinks I'm a crazy dude? Everybody knows I'm a crazy dude. Why don't I just go over here where these dumbasses don't know any different? So he goes there. He's hailed as a hero, and he loves it because the the planet orbits around a red sun, so there is no freaking Kryptonians ruining anything, and he's having a great time. Well, one of his old doomsday devices gets activated on Earth, so Superman has to travel to Luthor to, hey, why don't you come back and help us figure this dang thing out, since you made it and everything. Show us how to turn it off. And and Lex Luthor's like, I don't think so. He was just like, not only are you now vulnerable because you're on a red sun, I made a big battle suit just in case you did show up. So he gets up there, starts beating the crap out of Superman. They get into a huge fight. Basically the suit malfunctions, goes off. Basically, it blows up the planet Luthor and all its inhabitants. And, yeah, it's all Superman's fault, because if Superman had showed up, none of that would have happened. So he goes back to Earth, and he's full on, like, yeah, I'm gonna... Superman, he's an ass. He needs to go. Whether he's got the full-on revenge plot going on against Superman, whether he's got the attitude of we don't need outside forces to come, humanity can grow. I mean, no matter how you look at him, he's one of those characters that he's so charismatic, he can make you kind of believe his own bullshit. And that's what puts him as one of the foremost supervillains of the DC universe. And this is him in his purple and green outfits, which is awesome. Which, yeah, leader of the Legion of Doom. He's got his little boot rockets on there. I mean, the thing I love about Lex Luthor is you can have, like, serious stories of him, like his upbringing, his how he comes to power. You've got the planet blowing up and him blaming Superman. And then you've got certain little goofy stories. Like, and the Joker had his own series at one point in the late 70s. And one of the stories was that the Joker and Lex have a switch where Joker's insanity goes into Lex Luthor and Lex Luthor's intelligence goes into the Joker. And he's got to pretend to be crazy, and Lex Luthor just doesn't care. He's just like, hey, I know how to use all this crap, and I'm crazy now. So yeah, you get great, one of the things I think a great character, in order to give a character a good character trait that shows it, the very definition of a good character is that you can play him on all kinds of different levels, him being true and still working. Lex Luthor, you know, if you look at the Superman live action show, he's kind of campy. He still works. He just, you know, he goes, you know, in the comics, he goes from wanting to rule the world to rule in the universe. In the movie, he's got a land scheme going on. Yeah, it's just... Lex Luthor is one of those characters you just can't get enough of. And he's the perfect foil for Superman, because Superman is so inherently good, and Lex Luthor is so inherently bad, and distrusting of everything. They did a story where Lex Luthor is actually confronted by death of the Endless, and she flat out asks him, you know, well, what if I were to say I could take you to paradise, no strings attached, and you could live out your days there instead of going to hell, which is probably where he's expecting to go. And Luthor flat out says he would not be happy, because he'd be waiting for the other shoe to drop. He knows he doesn't deserve to be there, and he knows that somebody's just scheming something. So, yeah, one of the things I love about him is that he does so much for so many selfish reasons, but he's never happy and will never be happy until everybody decides that until he believes everybody in the world is on his side and loves him as much as he does. So, got a little wordy there on that, but this is Lex Luthor. How can you not? And I almost never get to talk about Lex Luthor, so I had to jump at the opportunity. But give me a like on this video if you've enjoyed my little Lex Luthor rant. Give me a comment below. Tell me some of your favorite Lex Luthor plots, his ideas, be they goofy, be they serious. You know, he's even posed as a good guy I don't know how many times. But it all just goes to show that life is full of odd moments, and you never know when you're going to be defined.